And it is a good update. We obviously missed the worst of this storm, which is a blessing for New York City. We have an old saying that we live by around here: prepare for the worst and hope for the best. We got a much better result than the original projections had portrayed, and we were spared the worst of this storm. That being said, a lot of other areas were not, and just 20, 30 miles east of the city border in Long Island, they got exactly what was originally projected for here. Obviously, our friends in Boston got what was projected for here. So this storm was real, and it was as big as it was projected to be, but it moved eastward, and thank God for that. But a lot of other people in the metropolitan area are hurting quite a bit right now and going through a really tough time. A lot of other people in the Northeast going through a tough time, over 2 feet in a lot of areas. Now here, in the vast majority of the city, we did not even hit 10 inches. 6, 7, 8 inches has been more typical in most parts of the city. Still some snow happening today, so we might pick up a few more inches, but obviously the worst is past. So put simply, we got about half as much as what a lot of the projections had been, or even under half as much. But again, if you look at eastern Queens, where I was this morning, some parts of eastern Queens got 10 inches of snow, just literally 18 miles to the east in Ronkonkoma, there were 20 inches of snow. So literally, a distance of 18 miles, twice as much snow in that part of Long Island. Farther out in Suffolk, Mattituck has gotten 25 inches already. So there's no question of how serious this is, how serious it was projected to be, and the kind of precautions that we had to take. The good news is the people of the city understood how serious the threat was. They took the travel ban seriously. They got off the roads after 11 p.m., and that allowed the sanitation department to do an extraordinary job. I spent this morning in different parts of the city. I was out in Bayside and Howard Beach, in Jamaica Center. I was out in Staten Island and Highland Boulevard and other parts of Staten Island. What you saw was an extraordinarily effective response by the sanitation department. And that is in no small measure because people did a great job of getting out of the way and helping sanitation to do what they do so well. They, of course, were out all night nonstop, and they continue to work intensely to keep clearing the city up and getting us back to normal. Just some recapping, of course, at 7:30 a.m. today, in coordination with the state of New York, we lifted the travel ban. Staten Island ferry was back up immediately at that point. The subway system, the MTA, as you've heard, quickly coming back to life. It will not get the full weekday capacity today. It will be the equivalent of a Sunday schedule, which is basically about 60% of normal capacity. Now, the cleanup, again, underway, going well, but it's going to take today and into tomorrow to continue that cleanup. So the reminder to people is, even though we didn't see the worst, it's still very cold out there. It's still very slippery. You're driving around, you do need to take precautions. It will be slower. I saw a few accidents along the way as I was driving around this morning. People need to be careful. And the farther east you go in the city, the more careful you have to be, particularly eastern Queens, again, which bore the brunt of what the city experienced. Sanitation will be working nonstop. I have said that statistic over and over. They have 6,000 miles of roads to cover, same as going from here to Los Angeles and back. I was gratified to hear some of the national media picking up on that point and recognizing just what a big job our sanitation department and our transportation department have to do every day. But sanitation has stuck with it with 2,400 pieces of snow clearing equipment out, continuing their 12-hour shifts, and they're doing a great job. Another update, we recognized, thankfully, that because we did not have intense wind conditions today, and because we got a lot less snow after a careful evaluation was done, that we could go ahead and open up the parks again. So that order was given at 11 a.m. Parks are now open throughout the city. But again, want people to remember to be very careful. It is slippery. Some of our young people are happy that it's slippery, but for the rest of us, you got to be careful. And one particular caution, some of our parks, there are bodies of water. Those can be covered over by snow and not be as visible. So people have to be careful. Pathways could be icy, etc. If there's any problem in a park or anywhere else that needs to be addressed, we remind people to call 311 to report fallen branches or any other kind of obstruction we should know about. Very, very important topic, our schools. School obviously closed today. Here to announce that school will be open tomorrow. If some of you are going to ask, was I heavily lobbied by a certain public school student? The answer is yes. Dante made his best attempt to convince me that school should also be closed tomorrow, but his attempt failed. And by every measure, we will be ready to run school well tomorrow. Alternate side parking, however, will be suspended tomorrow, as it is today. We're still not sure in terms of garbage and recycling when that will be back up and running. Clearly not tomorrow. But we'll give you an update tomorrow on what day we think that will be back. Reminding people, as always, if you have questions, need information, 311, or go online at nyc.gov. If you see an emergency, if you see something life-threatening, 911. So the bottom line is we got lucky. Things turned out a lot better than we feared, but we were prepared. The people of the city responded really the exactly right way. They looked out for each other. They heeded the warnings, and that had allowed us to do what we needed to do to keep people safe. Things are getting back to normal, but do not be overconfident. It will still take a while to get things fully back to normal, and again, take real precautions while you're out there today and tomorrow. Quick word in Spanish. Por suerte, la tormenta no afectó demasiado a la ciudad de Nueva York. Todo está lentamente volviendo a la normalidad, pero todavía les pedimos a los neoyorquinos que tengan cuidado. Seguimos trabajando para garantizar la seguridad de todos. And no one has done a better job with the seguridad de todos than Catherine Garcia, helping to make sure that our streets are being cleared. And again, I had the honor of being with your workers the last couple of days. I had the honor of seeing some of your folks and greeting them while I was traveling around the city and thanking them. Your team really did a first-class job, and please let them know on behalf of all New Yorkers how appreciative we are. Commissioner Garcia.
So there's no pressure when your boss goes out to check on your work. So we did have over 2,400 sanitation workers out on the streets last night. It made a tremendous difference for them in terms of how much geography they got covered. We were able to get into most secondary streets last night for at least one pass. They are back on it this morning and will be on it all day to both widen lanes on the commercial strips, but also to get into some of the secondaries that definitely need a second pass, particularly out in eastern Queens that saw more than 10 inches of snow, and there's a lot of blowing and drifting. They need more attention, and they are doing that now. So I'm pleased with what they've been able to accomplish and hope to, well, let me just say, not unhappy we didn't see 30. So thank you very much.
Amen. Amen. I want to bring up Commissioner Trottenberg, and again, her team did a great job getting the streets ready for the storm. They're going to have to deal with the aftermath after everything is cleared. Their work is never done. Transportation Commissioner Polly Trottenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I want to thank particularly the men and women of DOT. I was out this morning, as you were, seeing my crews on the job, assisting sanitation and plowing, clearing the pedestrian overpasses, and keeping our bridges safe. They did a terrific job overnight and will continue to help sanitation today. Ferry is now running, as the mayor mentioned. Ferry is up and running on a half-hour schedule, full normal service, resume tomorrow. And once again, I'm glad we were able to help the sanitation team keep the city moving.
Thank you very much. We mentioned parks. Commissioner Silver has only 29,000 acres to worry about, And again, we wanted to make sure that we felt good about reopening them, and he and his team did a survey to determine that and gave us the all clear. So Commissioner Mitch Silver of the Parks Department.
Thank you. I will not reiterate what the mayor said. However, I do want to let people know they should use caution as they use the parks. There are still slippery conditions, and again, there's the potential of some falling limbs. We ask anyone who sees either a falling limb or any type of damage or hazards to call 311. Our recreation centers will be open from 1 to 6, 11 of our 35. They'll be at limited staffing levels. So if some of the children want to enjoy our recreation centers and not just the parks, there will be several open throughout the city. In terms of the zoos, they will be closed today for cleanup, but will be reopened tomorrow, normal hours, as well as the skating rinks. They will be closed today to clean up and reopen tomorrow, although Alaska Rink is trying to see whether they could open today. The concessions will open up on an as-needed basis as they feel they have staff to open up those concessions. So with that, we just encourage people to use extreme caution. And then for any sledding opportunities, we do have on our website for those that want to see places where they can enjoy themselves in the snow. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, you're going to have a lot of customers today. And I want to bring up Commissioner Esposito, who's done a great job these last days, getting all the different agencies coordinated, and this has been a constantly shifting situation, and he's kept everyone working together well. Commissioner Esposito.
Thank you. New York City Emergency Management, our job is to coordinate and help with the planning, and that's what we did the last few days. Our Emergency Operations Center has been open for the last few days. It will remain open until the city gets back to normal for the next day or so. So we'll be doing that. Additionally, we haven't been hit as hard as we thought we were going to be hit, but surrounding counties have been hit. We're working with them to provide some mutual assistance and some mutual aid for them. So as soon as we can free up some of our equipment, probably the DOT more than sanitation will be sending some assets out to surrounding counties. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to emphasize that we really do believe in that. You remember some weeks back the horrible snowstorms in Buffalo, and we sent a lot of fire department equipment and very highly trained personnel up to help the people in Buffalo and Erie County. They were deeply appreciative. A lot of people have come to our aid when New York City went through Sandy and a lot of other tough situations. We know Suffolk County is hurting right now, and I appreciate Commissioner Esposito's focus on making sure we're helping our neighbors. So whatever Suffolk County needs that we can spare, we're certainly going to make sure that we give them that help. Finally, I want you to hear from Chief O'Neill, because he and I were in contact on the travel ban and making sure with NYPD's help that it would be successful so sanitation could get out there and do its work. And I want you to hear an eyewitness account of the success of the travel ban. Chief O'Neill.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I think it's afternoon, right? A little bit afternoon. So I had the opportunity to conduct a survey last night around 3 o'clock in the morning. Came up the east side, went across 42nd Street, came into Times Square. First time, I think, in my life where I saw no vehicular traffic in Times Square besides sanitation trucks. I saw people having a snowball fight. So coming back to 1PP, came down 7th Avenue, and I saw one vehicle. It was a livery cab on West 4th and 7th, and told the driver maybe it's time to go home, and gave him a warning and sent him home. Just before I close, I just want to thank we have police communication technicians, and we kept 50 of them on the overnight. We kept them from the 3rd Platoon, so I ended up working about 16 to 17 hours. So I'd just like to thank them for the great work that they did. And by having the roads closed, it gave us an opportunity to respond to jobs. Our actual response time was down considerably last night, so I'd like to thank everybody for their cooperation. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, with that, so we're going to take questions on this topic. We will be seeing you later on other topics. Rich.
Mr. Mayor, whether or not there was any number of summonses, was there a number, were summonses issued or no summonses issued?
So, Rich, as of now, from what I'm getting from our operations unit, no summonses or arrests in relation to the storm.
And I think on that, Rich, the important point is, and I want to thank all of our colleagues in the media, I think starting on Sunday, people are getting a very clear idea just how big a storm this is going to be and the kind of dangers that would come with it. And we announced the travel ban early and made very clear how serious we were about it. And I think people respected that. And I give New Yorkers a lot of credit for heeding the warnings and respecting them. And that is why So much work was done on the overnight, and that's why as we start to get back to normal this morning, you can go around a lot of parts of the city, as I did, and see extraordinary progress having been made because sanitation was able to do its work, because police, fire, everyone had the ability to do what they do as quickly as possible. Yes.
Mayor, what do you tell New Yorkers, though, who might look at all the precautions that were made? And I'm not asking you to blame the meteorologists here, but for those who might think, oh, this was overkill, this was too much to do, and also how much was 2010, that storm, in your thoughts as you prepared?
Well, I would say 2010 was clearly in my thoughts because that was a case where the city was not prepared sufficiently and underestimated the danger and did not give people clear messages in time. And I think that is exactly the prism through which we have to look at this. Would you rather be ahead of the action or behind? Would you rather be prepared or unprepared? Would you rather be safe or unsafe? My job as the leader is to make decisions, and I will always err on the side of safety and caution. Now, we had consistently, not just for the day of yesterday, but for several days, reports talking about 2 feet or more of snow. Again, that would have instantly put us into one of the top snowstorms in the history of the city. To me, it was a no-brainer. We had to take precautions to keep people safe. And God forbid this storm had not moved, what was ultimately 20, 30 miles to the east in our case, we would have then been hit by that incredible magnitude of storm. And had people not been off the roads, there would have been a lot of people in danger, and probably some people would have lost their lives. We can't take that risk. When we're making decisions about people's lives, we have to protect our people. So, as I said, that example, Long Island, literally, about 20 miles east of the Queens border, twice as much snow. If that storm had hit the way it was originally scheduled to hit or originally envisioned to hit, that would have been us. So these were the right precautions to take. They worked. Obviously, they're going to speed our ability to get back to normal. But there's in situations like this, you can't be a Monday morning quarterback on something like the weather. There's no perfect capacity to project the weather. We take the information we have, and we try and make tough, careful judgments based on it. Yes?
The economic cost, both to the city government and to the local economy.
I don't know if we do. I'm looking at Tony. We don't have something like that. We can probably put something together. Again, a lot less than it would have been if it had hit in full force. We think tomorrow, and I'll look to Catherine as I say this, but I think tomorrow's going to be a pretty normal day, although there'll still be some cleaning up to do. Again, alternate side will be suspended. But generally speaking, business will go on in New York City. I think if we had gotten the kind of storm we were talking about originally, we would have lost tomorrow. We would have lost all the business, all the activity tomorrow. So certainly the economic impact, much less of a negative impact than it would have been.
I just wanted to ask about the timing of some of the decisions. I think some people were wondering why the travel ban wasn't lifted until 7:30 after you had more information about the storm.
Because we had to make sure that we were comfortable with the state of our roads. We obviously coordinated with the state of New York and their decision-making process, but the key point here is we were not going to make an action until we were sure it was safe and that it was not going to create a domino effect. For example, you tell people, okay, everybody come on in, you're immediately saying that the snowplows aren't going to be able to do their job right because there have been a huge amount of traffic on the road in the way of the plows. So we had to weigh sort of short-term versus long-term considerations. Job one is to get the city back to normal. After you know people are safe, you got to get the city back to normal. And it made sense to make sure that sanitation in particular felt we could support a lot of new traffic coming in without disrupting the mission of making sure the roads would be cleared.
Mr. Mayor, do you expect city workers to come in now that everything's calm? And if they took the day today, do they have to use a vacation day for that? Or?
It's the same standard we've used in the past in these situations. So certainly all city workers will be back to more normal tomorrow. I'm looking at Tony. I think individual agencies have issued instructions about today according to updated information. So each agency is sending messages out to its workers.
Mr. Mayor, WNYC encountered some people who actually got stranded in the subways last night. Do you have any concerns about the governor's decision to shut down the subways, given that the roads were also closed? It sort of left people with no options.
I think based on the information all of us had, it was right to take extraordinary precautions, and obviously they were announced many hours in advance. I think by definition, after the fact, everyone's going to look at the specifics of how things were handled to see what we can learn for the future. But based on what we knew at the time, if the storm had hit with the intensity we're talking about, you remember the quote from yesterday, Catherine offered, in some cases we were expecting 2 to 4 inches of snow per hour. We did think it would start, I think, earlier in the evening than it ultimately came. That would have paralyzed some of the subway lines above ground, certainly. So I think it was a decision based on caution and trying to prepare for the worst. But again, I'm sure there'll be a full review to see what we can learn from this that might help us to think of other ways to do things in the future.
Blasio, you twice had press conferences or appearances at the same time as Governor Cuomo. Why? I mean, you weren't with him this morning. Was there any reason you chose to go on CNN instead of standing?
That CNN had just invited me on. I was happy to do it. Now, we're all just trying to get information out as soon as it's ready. And there's been a lot of coordination, a lot of communication between our teams throughout.
Surprised by the governor's final decision on closing the subway system. It came relatively later in the day than some of the other announcements. I was just wondering how much advance notice your team had gotten about that, and obviously there were a lot of New Yorkers who needed to know there would be no subway service at all after 11 o'clock.
We did not get a lot of advance notice, but again, I want to emphasize, I think all of these decisions were being taken in an atmosphere in which the consistent message we were getting from the Weather Service and from all the meteorologists was 2 feet or even more, and very fast accumulation. So I think in that atmosphere, everyone was trying to make quick decisions and the right decisions. But we look at each one of these and try and learn, how we can better approach them in the future. Yes.
Was your meeting with Borough President Otto at all related to the storm? And if not, what did you guys talk about? And was that planned before the storm, or did you just decide to go on a whim? I decided to go on a whim. I knew I was going to be looking around the city, and I called him while I was still in Queens to see if he was available. He was shoveling his driveway, which meant he was available. So we agreed upon a diner on a Colonnade Diner on Highland Boulevard, and we just spent time catching up. But obviously, I first wanted to see how he thought the sanitation response was, and I think he felt pretty good about it. Mayor, after Hurricane Irene didn't pan out to be the forecast that was expected, the next year a lot of people didn't take the forecast for Hurricane Sandy seriously. They stayed home. They told reporters they weren't evacuating because they had evacuated during Irene, and it hadn't panned out. Do you have any concerns after a storm like last night that maybe next year or next month, if you tell New Yorkers not to ride the subway or not to go into the streets, that they'll, not take precautions?
I do not, and I want to explain why. And I think it's a very fair question because it's important to look at this history. First of all, I think one of the things I've said from the beginning, largely based on my experience with Sandy, because after Sandy, I was all over the city in the affected neighborhoods, then as public advocate, and it was very, very striking that there was something of a gap in terms of people's consciousness. I don't think it was just because of Irene. I think no one could envision something the scale of Sandy. I think the world has changed a lot in the last few years. So point one, we are going to be very forceful in our messages to people when we sense danger. This is what you saw in the last 48 hours. Try to clearly contextualize just how bad this storm might be. No one said, you get a perfect guarantee of what you're going to get with the weather. But our job is to take the information we have, even look at it a little more conservatively than what we're getting, because we've seen storms speed up and be even bigger than projected. So we have to take the worst case scenario, project that early and often to the people so they can make good decisions and offer very clear guidelines, like in this case, the travel ban. I think the city needs to do that. I'm not sure in the history of the city we always did that clearly enough and well enough. So we're going to be very, very forceful. And I guarantee you, if we ever get to a point in any crisis where we say the word evacuate, it's going to be very forceful. It's going to be constantly reiterated. We're going to put a lot of muscle into that. So it's about sending a very clear message up and down the line. I think the other reality is extreme weather is becoming tragically much more common. Even if you go back a few years to when Irene hit, I don't think it was, for most of us, such an assumption as it is today. I think we have seen now extreme weather events over and over again in a kind of progression that was unimaginable just a few years ago. I think people understand it. They understand that global warming is one of the causes. They understand there's a lot of vulnerability. and they have to think about things differently. I think it's one of the reasons why people took last night so seriously and acted accordingly. First of all, we had every expert saying for several days 2 feet or more, and everyone could figure out that 2 feet was an extraordinarily large storm. But I think the consciousness is changing. I think people want to be safe, they want to keep their families safe, and they're learning to heed those warnings and not take them lightly.
I guess on the same vein, I wonder what you make of commentary that we're kind of getting soft as a nation, that we have to, shut down streets and shut down the subways. Obviously, you have your side. I just wanted to know your reaction to that.
Well, as a child, I did walk to school barefoot in the snow, so I share some of that concern. I think it's not softness to respond to extreme weather. I think there is a problem of people wanting everything to be convenient, and this stuff is never going to be convenient. Again, weather is thoroughly unpredictable. It, by definition, is going to cause inconvenience, and we're going to do our best to address people's concerns, but there will always be challenges and problems. And I do think people sometimes have to learn to take that in a little more stride as part of life. But on the question of sort of a consciousness of what we're facing, I actually think more and more, I'll just say for myself, generationally, I could never have imagined the kind of weather situations we're seeing today when I was growing up. So I think people are catching up with the reality and really feeling it. So many people know someone who had a house flooded or lost a house in Sandy, or have been were on the thruway when the thruway was impassable because of the snowstorms. I mean, it's becoming something that's now a whole lot of families have had a personal experience with it. And so I think at this point, people recognize a storm is a very unpredictable thing. And we're seeing storms like we never saw before. So I think they're rightfully saying, okay, this is not about softness, this is about smart precautions. Marcia.
I just wondered if, in making the decisions yesterday, you took a look at the mistakes that were made in the blizzard of 2010 when it...
We got that question earlier, and yes.
Sorry, I wasn't...
Yeah, and I'll just reiterate, yes, absolutely. That was having paid a lot of mind to what happened in 2010, having lived through it, having been all over the city then as public advocate, having seen the mistakes, which I think were a mistake of underestimation, not preparing early enough, not giving a clear message to people, not assuming the worst, not having the right leadership and the right personnel and material in place. We err on the side of caution and safety. Who has not gone yet? Okay, we'll do these two. Go ahead.
Just to follow up on Mike Grinbaum's question, can we get a time of when you found out the subways would be closed from Governor Cuomo?
Tony and his team will get us that answer, but because I want to make sure we do it accurately. But again, we found out just as it was being announced.
Just another question on timing. Last year, you highlighted the fact that you were having a 4 a.m. conference call to decide whether schools will be open. Yesterday, the decision was made at 1 or 2 p.m. Why the difference?
Very good question. Because, again, think of this as sort of a bit of a matrix. You've got the temperature, you've got the snow levels, you've got the wind levels, et cetera. This one was a no-brainer based on the forecast. 2 feet of snow, there's nothing else to discuss. Plus, we expected very cold and windy conditions. In that instance, when we had the 4 a.m. conference call, it was a close decision, meaning it was a borderline decision. And so we had to wait to, I think it's 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. when the National Weather Service does their survey. We get the information at 3 a.m. plus 4 a.m. was when we had as much information as we were going to have. And then so long as we got it out by 5 a.m., it would be in time for people to make adjustments. That one was a close decision. This one was not even close. This was a no-brainer. Okay, thanks, everyone.
Travel bans in New York City and other surrounding areas no longer in effect. City buses, subways, and trains getting up and running, and people are starting to emerge from their homes and hotel rooms. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo still warning people to stay inside if possible.
There's a level of ice under the snow in many areas. And if you don't have to travel today, you really don't want to be traveling today.
The blizzard less powerful here than originally expected. Officials standing by all precautions taken ahead of the storm's arrival.
We did a good job clearing the roads because they were empty. the system is going to come back online much faster than it would have if the trains were exposed to the conditions.
Massachusetts seeing some of the worst conditions. Some areas hit with more than a foot of snow by this morning, and Boston could get as much as 2 feet. Wintry weather expected throughout the day.
We did see very high winds. We continue to see high winds. We'll see high winds over the course of the day. And in many parts of Massachusetts, we're going to continue to see snow falling.
Okay, so congratulations to New York for not getting as much snow as expected. Yeah. I guess you could
talk
say.
About hype, huh?
I know. I mean, you know what though? It was bad in other parts of the city, just not, or the state rather, just not the city, which is good for them because I was actually out there during Hurricane Sandy, and I don't think anyone anticipated the damage that it was going to cause. I mean, there were buildings flooded.
It's certainly better to
cars
be
underwater.
Overcautious than to be caught off guard.
Right. You know what was great about not great, I could say, but like a lot of the images coming out of the storm from yesterday were just like, I saw a lot of photos on, Instagram, on Twitter of people taking pictures in the grocery store and just like aisles and aisles and aisles just empty. Like one of my friends texted me a photo and there were literally like 2 pieces of meat, I think, left in the entire deli aisle. So I guess people will be stocked up on food.
I'm sure.
Anyway.
Packed into little apartments.
Right. Well, anyway.
Soup cans to the ceiling.
Guys, welcome to another Fox 10 News Now update. I know I didn't get to introduce us earlier because we had to go straight to Bill de Blasio's press conference. But we are kicking things off today with a few news updates. I have Andrew Hasbun here with me. Andrew, first things first, I know the story you're on today, a wrong-way crash on the I-17.
Another one. Yeah,
another one.
Another one. A guy gets on, I believe, heading south in the northbound lanes, got on at Glendale, and a DPS officer was actually kind of nearby and responded and tried to stop the wrong-way driver, but the wrong-way driver ended up going around the DPS officer and avoiding the DPS officer, and that ended up causing a crash that injured, I believe, total 4 people. And unfortunately, one of those people was critically injured, and that victim is a Phoenix Fire Department dispatcher who was heading home from work.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so very sad. And you can imagine, Phoenix Fire obviously responding to this. Yeah, there they are, and their dispatcher's in there. In one of the vehicles. We know all we know about her injuries is that she's in critical condition. She was taken to the hospital with critical injuries. The investigation is underway. They don't know what this person who got on the freeway the wrong way was doing, what they were on possibly.
Right.
They're looking into it. They're checking to see if there are any drugs involved, any alcohol involved. But at this point, we just don't know. And we don't know the name of the person who was driving the car at this point. The victim... I believe her name is, her last name is Lang, first name.
Megan.
Megan Lang, yeah, she's a Phoenix Fire dispatcher. And, sad. She's been there since 2009. Which is amazing because, you think about, she's going home from work, and the people who took over are now dispatching her call, not knowing that she's one of the victims. I can't even imagine. Crazy. It sounds awful.
This happened just after 1 a.m.
Yeah.
Completely shut down the freeway for about 7 hours. The freeway just reopened just before 8 a.m. This is I-17 northbound. I believe it was just south of Bethany Home Road. Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah. So just a quarter mile from the Bethany Home Road.
And you can see
freeway
all the
exit. Yeah.
You can see the the different cars involved there.
Right.
They said the wrong-way driver was traveling in the HOV lane.
I see. You know what's interesting, actually? I've heard that a number of times, because I know we've had a number of these sort of wrong-way driver accidents in Southern California, and it's very typical that the wrong-way driver is always in that HOV lane, the very left, because from their perspective, they're in the right lane.
They think it's the slow lane.
Yeah, exactly. And I've heard, and it's a continuous theme. Actually, one of my friends told me when you're driving late at night, never drive in the far left lane.
Really?
Yeah, because there was a period where it was just happening a lot in LA, and it was just like, all right, stay in the middle. I think even in the middle, it's your best bet, because if you see someone coming head on, you kind of can swerve left or right and still have options.
Scary.
Absolutely.
And the people that I've talked to who have been involved in wrong-way crashes, because it's been going on here for a while, they say that it's just when you're going at each other at 60 to 80 miles an hour, you just have no time to react.
Right, I can't imagine.
Like at the moment you realize that someone's coming, it's happened so fast. You come together so quickly that DPS has been, trying to respond to these as fast as they can. But
Right.
unfortunately, look what happened here. You want to be safe and you want to, end the situation without serious injuries. And this person
Absolutely.
goes around the DPS officer, which then causes the DPS officer to crash into other cars.
That is really unfortunate.
Sad, unfortunately, yeah.
Well, hopefully Megan Lang recovers well and we don't have to report any further bad news. I know you're on this story today,
yes.
so you'll be finding out more information
Absolutely.
about what happened, about the wrong-way driver, hopefully, and you'll have more
what
of that.
was going on with him.
Right.
Which, how do you get on the freeway the wrong way? It just boggles the mind every
People
time.
figure it out somehow.
Yeah.
But there was another story you were on yesterday. I was looking at this video, so caught on camera, a school principal abusing a student.
Not only is he the school principal, he's also, it's a really small district up in Superior,
Okay.
which is about an hour and 15 minutes east of Phoenix. Small town, small school district. He's the superintendent, he's the principal.
Is he a teacher?
And he's a teacher.
I shouldn't laugh. It's a more serious story, but it is.
It is a serious story, but he is all three. And then there's a lot of staff at the school, and
Right.
so I guess there was an incident involving a 7-year-old kid. And
Seven,
yes. And this was a form of, I guess, discipline, to get the kid under control. There were some incidents, and they put him in a chair. We have the video. That's pretty surprising. You can see that's the boy who was first in a chair. Or here's the principal. This is what happens. This is the incident in question right here. You can see he makes a kicking motion with his foot thereafter. Not sure what he's referring to there,
Right.
but you just read into that how you want to. But here he is. He had the boy sit down in a chair away from the table at 1st, and then the boy kind of inched his way toward the table, and the principal came out, saw what was happening, and this is what his reaction was. The first initial reason why this all even came out was because the boy told his mom that the principal had slammed his head against a table. There's no video of that incident, and police are still looking into whether that happened or not. That's some work they still have to do to try to figure out if that's in fact true. But then because of that initial call, that's when they started looking at this stuff. They looked at the surveillance video, and then that's when they found this.
And that was the same kid?
Same kid.
Okay.
Same kid. Apparently there was some incident on a school bus, and as a form of discipline, they put him in the chair. So now the principal's on paid leave. Well, principal, superintendent, and teacher is on paid leave. And the possibility that they could be charged this week with aggravated assault, which is a felony.
Wow.
Yeah. This is not something, viewers can come to their own conclusion about, how serious they think this is, but the police there are taking it very seriously.
So what do we know about this principal so far in terms of, his time with the district, his role in principal?
We don't know too much.
Teacher.
We know that, he's, according to the police, he's a very nice guy, and this is it looks like he just maybe lost it, dealing with this situation. No previous issues.
It doesn't look too forced. I'm not justifying the action, but it doesn't look like the push on the wall was with much force.
And in this clip,
is it slowed down or is it?
This clip, no, this is the real-time video. We just zoomed in a little bit so you could see it a little closer. But what the video doesn't show in this clip is that he keeps the boy against the table and the wall for maybe a couple minutes, minute or two, and at some points he kind of rocks the table back and forth with his legs, almost like pushing it back into the boy. The boy there weren't any visible injuries on the child according to the police.
Right.
But the mother of the child was not too pleased
with
all this, and she's the one that initially called the police to tell them what her son had said happened. Obviously, this news has traveled pretty quickly through the tiny town of Superior and the district, and then people are talking about it. And we spoke to a lady last night outside the school who said that you would expect an adult to not act like the child in the situation. So people aren't too thrilled with what happened up there, as you can imagine.
Right. Well, it is some crazy video, and I'm sure as the investigation continues, we'll get more updates on it and talk about it more once we find out more details, if there are more details to be found out. Well,
Absolutely.
Andrew, Thanks for joining me.
Sure.
Thanks for giving me the update. I'll let you go and investigate this I-17 crash
You got it.
further.
Thank you.
Hopefully you have some good news about
Hope
the
so.
victim. And there you go. I am just waiting for Mr. Ron Hoon to join me here in the hot seat. Ron Hoon will be joining me to talk about a couple other news stories. Oh my gosh, now I have Ron.
I know.
I know, Ron. We started a little bit later than expected, but,
Right.
you know, Bill de Blasio had to speak and we had to listen to him because, you know, one thing we talked about a little bit earlier was this East Coast blizzard. I mean,
Yes.
there was so much hype going into it, and de Blasio basically just came out and said, like, look, it's better to be safe than sorry.
Correct.
You know, we lucked out.
Right.
It wasn't, you know, 20 inches of snow, but we still got about 6 to 8 inches.
Yeah.
Are you kind of disappointed?
Not disappointed, but I mean, weather's still, with all the satellites we have and everything else, it's still a bit of an inexact science.
Absolutely.
And so, I mean, thank goodness. It's weird though, because we had all these reports from the airports around New York, and they were just ghost towns.
Right.
And people, New Yorkers have been through plenty of storms. I think they felt like maybe it was a little bit of an overreaction.
Well, it was maybe an overreaction for New York City, but I mean, if you look at Massachusetts.
Right.
Massachusetts was affected. Connecticut, I think there's a statewide travel ban in effect right now.
Right.
So maybe in New York City, there obviously was a lot of attention around New York because it is the biggest city in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And they have been affected by things such as Hurricane Sandy and other sort of major storms. So I think because there was so much focus on New York, people, I'm not going to say they neglected the states surrounding New York.
Yeah.
Connecticut, Massachusetts.
Sure.
But
There's somebody
there
out in
is still
some little.
damage.
There's somebody out in some little town in Pennsylvania who's like, "Hey, it's snowing like crazy. You're not talking about us."
Well, yeah. I mean, apparently there was 25 inches dropped in Worcester, Massachusetts.
Yes.
And that's a lot of snow. I mean, that's inland, away from Boston. I know the city of Boston didn't get as much.
Yeah.
But they did.
They got a foot.
They got a foot. But
And
I mean, 25
there's supposed
inches,
to be more
that's
coming.
A lot.
Yeah. So no, it's going to be bad for Boston. Isn't it ironic that that's the very town where people are trying to get from to get here?
Right, where it's nice and warm,
for
and maybe
the
a
actual
little.
Super
There's a
Bowl?
little bit of rain. There was some rain overnight this morning, but depending on where you were, my car was wet when I left.
Oh, I know. Yeah. When did you get back into town?
I got back in Sunday
Okay.
night. Yeah, for our viewers that were tuning in last week, I was in New Orleans.
Yes.
Over the weekend, it was cold there. It was raining the first night I got in, pouring.
Yeah.
And the only day there was actually nice weather was Sunday, which was the day I left.
It's interesting. I was up in Seattle this weekend, and
Lots
because
of
we got a lot of family up there, and
were you on the flight back with just a whole bunch of Seahawks fans coming? To
I
the
thought
Super
it was
Bowl?
going to be like craziness, but it
Yeah.
wasn't really. But here, what people are doing up there is they're turning their porch lights to blue and green as you drive all over the place. I mean, they're really going crazy for it. I really think that because it's hard to get out of Boston weather-wise,
right,
and because they've already been to how many Super Bowls, 6 or something,
Mhm.
I think that it's going to sort of feel like a home game for the Seahawks. I think there's going to be a ton of Seattle people here, so something to keep in mind.
Right.
Yeah.
I know your family is big Seahawks fans.
Yeah, but remember we talked last week. They're like, "Oh, I can't believe you're not rooting for the Seahawks." I don't know what to think anymore. I mean, I only really root for the Cardinals in NFL football.
But when you have one of two options, who are you going to go with?
Yeah.
You're going with the Patriots.
Yeah,
That's
but then
what you said last week, unless you change your mind.
But then I just have a weird vibe about this whole Deflategate thing.
Uh-huh.
I believe Bill Belichick. I'm still not 100%
So let's
convinced
talk about
Tom
this.
Brady.
So yesterday, the Patriots arrived in town.
Yes.
We streamed that here live.
Oh, did you yesterday afternoon?
Yesterday afternoon, we streamed their arrival live, their arrival into Sky Harbor, and then we also followed along with our chopper and followed the buses till it got to the resort out in Chandler.
Right.
So we followed them along for a while.
Sure.
So we were all watching here.
Kind of power you have on this YouTube channel.
Right.
You're like, keep that chopper up,
Let's
boys.
just keep watching, guys.
Yeah.
We can basically stalk the team, is what I'm saying.
Here's what's so funny. Give me your take on this, Samia, but here's what is so, I don't mean funny, haha, I mean funny, interesting. Everybody within that organization, I have to believe, wants this thing to die down,
Absolutely. But the thing is, Deflategate just so happened to happen right before the Super Bowl.
Correct.
Where all eyes are on football.
Oh,
if
yes.
this was a week 12 game or a week 9, whatever game it was, we would have talked about it for those days and been over it. But the fact of the matter is, it was the final game.
Yep.
It's the game they won that got them to the Super Bowl.
Right.
And now they're in the Super Bowl. And the Super Bowl is in Phoenix, so we're not letting it go. And I don't think anyone else is.
Okay, so here's the thing. So who is the one person who re-energizes the story? It's the man who gets off the plane yesterday from Phoenix, goes right in front of the microphones,
Bill Belichick,
and gives it all new life. One up above Belichick, the owner, Robert Kraft. And you know why?
Why?
Because Richard Sherman, number 25 for the Seahawks, who is a master at getting in the other team's head, just got in their head, got in their owner's head. Because did you hear what he said over the weekend?
I didn't, no.
He said something to the effect that, hey, it's a conflict of interest for the owner to even talk about this because do you see how fancy his house looks? You see how much money he's making off the Patriots? Something to that effect. So I think that really got into the owner, Robert Kraft. So he goes in front of the microphones yesterday and says, I'm going to want an apology. When all of this is proved to be a bunch of hooey, I want an apology. And so, I mean, he said, these guys have never lied to me. I've never known Bill Belichick or Tom Brady to ever lie to me, so I'm backing them 100%, and this thing is going to be proved to be not true. So it just gave us something new to talk about today.
But what's going to be proven untrue? I mean, the NFL found that 11 of the 12 balls were underinflated.
Yes.
So maybe the only thing they can prove untrue is that, okay, Tom Brady wasn't behind it.
Right.
It was someone else involved.
Right. Okay.
But how do you even find that out?
That's a great question. That's a really great question.
Sure.
And here's the answer. Surveillance video.
That's true. We actually, just before you got on here, Andrew and I were showing surveillance video, unrelated to football, but of this principal in the town of Superior that was, shoving a kid in a desk against a wall. And, I don't think anyone, when they're doing what they're doing, is thinking...
No, they're not.
There's surveillance cameras right there and there and there. I mean, I have them everywhere here.
Right. There's this camera, there's that camera.
I know. Better not do anything illegal over here.
Okay, but here's the interesting thing. So apparently there is surveillance video that shows an equipment manager disappearing after the officials have checked out the balls for a little less than 2 minutes.
Disappearing with
the balls.
Okay.
And then he appears back on tape. I think maybe he goes into another room or something where there's apparently not a surveillance camera.
So they're already aware of the camera.
But didn't remember right at the beginning people said Bill Belichick's not going down, Tom Brady's not going down, some poor equipment manager.
Yeah, we did say that. Someone on the lower tier who's not making that much money
I know.
is going to get in trouble. But
well, so the question is, I don't know. I have a feeling that he knows how Tom Brady likes his football. I mean, who doesn't? Aaron Rodgers already said he likes the ball to be harder than usual and maybe a little overinflated. So anyway, there are 5,000 credentials issued for Media Day.
That's today.
At the
Media
Super
Day
Bowl.
actually just started. It was at 10:30. It started at 10:30.
Yeah, yeah.
So it started just about 10 minutes ago. We have our sports guys out there participating.
It'll be
Media
interesting
Day.
to see what they have to say.
So 5,000 people, media professionals credentialed, and fans with tickets, getting to watch as these media professionals interview these athletes.
Right.
From the stand. It's like a weird
it is a
sort
weird
of
thing.
setup.
And out at the Phoenix Open, I think they said there were 800 media credentials today.
Because Tiger Woods is speaking.
And Tiger Woods spoke already.
Yeah,
and the stuff he had to say was really interesting.
Oh, so you already have it.
I got it for you.
Because it happened about 10 minutes ago, so you were listening. I'm glad that you have it because I don't have it directly here.
I know. I try to take care of business for you before I come on.
You're so kind.
Right?
So it's good that we started a little later. You were able to listen to Tiger.
Correct. And he was talking about, I think he said he's had his most famous hole-in-one in his whole career.
Was here.
Correct. At the Phoenix Open on famous hole 16. It's the one where he's like, yeah!
Right.
And the crowd is going nuts, standing ovation, cheering and everything. That, looking back on his career 30 years from now, that will be the shot that everybody remembers.
Wow.
So it's cool that he finally came back to Phoenix because he didn't come here for several years.
Right, 14 years.
But I think he said there had been a couple of other hole holes in one that he'd hit, but nothing to this level. Obviously, he's hoping to hit another one this week.
And that would be amazing.
Yeah.
So what did he say?
So he said that. You know what they were asking about was the whole Lindsey Vonn situation.
His relationship?
No, more like, okay, so you were hanging out in Europe and you were there trying to support her. The next thing you know, America sees you got no tooth up here.
Oh.
You know? And so they were just trying to get some info from him on that. And he actually, he went over there, all the way over there to support her. I mean, she's a big sports star, just like he's a big
right.
You could argue she's bigger now than he is because his golf career has kind of gone...
Maybe in terms of like his athleticism, but I don't think she's more popular than Tiger Woods by name.
No, you're right.
You can go into a grocery store and ask someone who is completely clueless about sports in general.
That's right.
And they'll be able to identify Tiger Woods.
Right. But anyway, so he said that flying home from Europe was a joke because he said he was actually in so much pain. You know, we were all kind of ha-ha, you know, he's got no tooth. He said he was in so much pain he couldn't eat, he couldn't sleep, he wanted to get back, not take care of it with some dentist he doesn't know in Switzerland or whatever.
Sure.
To get back to his dentist there, and he said it wasn't until he actually got in and got the temporary on and everything else that he felt normal for the first time in a couple of days because a cameraman had knocked his tooth out. You got to be careful. I mean, think about all the media that's around him today. You know,
pretty sure he'll be careful about those cameras.
It's going to be interesting to see the cross pollination of sports figures, like all the everybody for the Patriots and for the Seahawks. They're busy with their practices this week, but there are a ton of NFL stars in town because the Pro Bowl just happened.
Right.
How many of them will we see out at the Phoenix Open?
I'm pretty sure everyone's going to be staying in town for the Open, for the
Right,
Super Bowl.
right.
Once you're in town, you're not leaving until after
Correct.
February 1st.
Right.
February 2nd, maybe.
The Suns have 2 games this week. Are we going to see Tiger at a Suns game? Are we going to see some of these NFL stars, other celebs?
I want to go to Suns game.
You'll love it. It's so
I will.
fun. It's
Maybe
so
this
exciting.
week. Maybe this is the week.
So, anyway, yeah, Tiger he's going to make, just what I'm saying is by virtue of the fact that there are 800 media credentials for a Monday, which is normally not a very important day. It just shows you
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
You were off yesterday.
That's
so
right.
It's your Monday. You're forgiven.
Right.
But I don't want to confuse our viewers.
Right.
It is
Yes.
Tuesday today. It's
Right.
Ron's Monday, though.
Yeah. So it just shows you how nuts this town. Literally, we are the focus of the entire sports world.
Oh,
right
absolutely.
now because of everything that's going on.
What other thing is happening in sports this week? Tell me one thing that's exciting in sports that's not happening here.
No, that's right.
There
There isn't anything else.
No. Maybe somewhere. No.
It's to the point where they're playing the kids flag football national championship here this week. We had a story on that. 250,000 kids play flag football now. Yeah, which is a safer way to
I was
go
gonna
than
say,
tackle.
that's safer.
Right. And
There's like a whole separate league for it.
Correct.
Right.
And so they're in town having their championship. So if it has anything to do with football, it's happening right here.
Or golf. Golf
Yeah.
is happening here too.
I'm glad that you're going to become a Suns fan. So
I am a Suns fan, but it's interesting you just brought up a whole bunch of kids playing flag football here. That was
Yes.
yesterday?
yeah,
They were all safe.
yes,
That's good. Well, because football can be dangerous.
right.
And that's always people's concern, like, oh, should I let my kids play football or should I let them do this?
I know. But so dodgeballs, you can get hurt playing dodgeball. You can
Yeah,
get
but-
hurt with all these things.
I
right?
know, but you never want like a unfortunate accident. I mean, one of the other stories that we're covering is this really unfortunate accident of Payson.
Oh.
That was a story that we had heard about over the weekend, and we only confirmed yesterday.
Right.
A 15-year-old boy hurts his head while in a zipline accident.
Yes,
Correct.
right.
Never regains consciousness. Dies. 15-year-old boy.
I know.
You have more information on this.
Correct.
He was a Boy
And-
Scout.
Yeah. Antonio Flores, 15 years old. There was a big Boy Scout group. They were up there all the way up from Queen Creek, and they had a Saturday outing. And, that area up outside of Payson is just such a popular place to go. And when I heard there was a zipline accident, and I knew I was going to be coming on to chat with you about it a little bit today, I had to do a little bit of research because I thought a zipline accident at Forest Lakes. I spend a lot of time up in that rim country, and I'm not familiar with any type of zipline attraction or anything like that. Apparently, it was at a private residence. So someone had set up a zipline there, and something horrible happened. And you just, for that Boy Scout troop, for the leaders, for the kids that are in it, and for the family of this young man, I mean, your heart just breaks. You're just sending your kids off for the day, and you give them a hug and a wave goodbye, and you're waiting for them to come home, and then something like this happens. So it's really heartbreaking. But I think you actually have something from the man who runs the Grand Canyon Council, right?
Yep, I do. Let me just pull that up.
This would be Larry Abbott, I guess,
right?
Yeah.
The leader that was preparing the zip line told the boys to hold on, and he went inside to obtain the safety equipment, which included the bungee cords for the braking system and also the safety helmets. I guess 4 of the guys decided they were just going to go down. When he went down, he struck a tree at the end of the zip line, and that's when, and then one of the boys ran inside to get the adult leaders, while the other boys ran to aid Tony.
Well, just heartbreaking.
I know.
So,
just 15 years old.
Right. I guess they were trying to do CPR and doing everything they could. They have a very good hospital up there in Payson, and that's kind of going to be headquarters for the whole Rim Country. You think about, they say that is the largest forest in the world of ponderosa pine once you get up into that area, and but it obviously from Forest Lakes to Payson, that takes quite a while to get to the hospital, and I'm sure they did everything humanly possible to try to save him, and it's just a heartbreaker.
I know. Well, prayers out to his family, and again, I think it's just important for everyone to be safe, and something with zip lining, I think you really, if that's something you want to do, go to a actual zip line attraction, where there are workers there that can regulate the safety and,
Yeah, I know. I thought about that. I've only zip lined once. Gosh, here I am losing my voice.
I think we've all, it's always probably on vacation somewhere, right? My one,
When did you do it?
I did it, maybe I've done it twice. I know I did it for sure in St. Lucia. Oh, no, I have done it twice. I did it in St. Lucia in 2011, and in 2010 I was in Vancouver for the Olympics.
They've got one up there.
They had a an Olympics, a zip line set up in their equivalent of, I guess, what would be their Super Bowl Central of downtown in Vancouver.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't remember the name of that area, but their main central attraction in downtown Vancouver, they had a zip line. That would
be kind of cool.
I did. Yeah, it was cool.
So you're sort of flying over the city.
I did it on camera. It was cool.
Did you?
Yeah.
I
was much more of a risk taker in my youth. Now
I know.
I don't know.
Notice how you've gotten a little older. You're much more set in your ways.
I don't even know if it's set in my. I don't even want to say it's set in my ways. I think I'm just more like, this is dangerous.
Right.
I'm already getting into mom mode.
Okay.
Don't do anything that you might possibly injure yourself to. Look, I was like, flag football, that's good. They shouldn't play tackle.
That's the first thing you want to bring up. I'm like, way to go, kids. And there you are,
just
future mom. I'm afraid somebody's going to get hurt. But I do want to say, the one time I went ziplining was in Mexico. And I remember thinking, I'm sure they don't have the same safety regulations that we do in the United States, but here goes, and it was a 16 line course that you went over all of these canyons. I mean, at some points I'd say you were 500 or 600 feet. It's in the mountains up above Puerto Vallarta.
Wow.
And so you definitely don't want to have a fear of heights, which my wife does a little bit, and yet she very bravely went on it with me. And it was, during the whole thing, I'm just thinking, I know this is not like a zip line in the U.S., but everybody else is doing it. I'm going to come out okay.
You have to look at it. Okay, someplace like Puerto Vallarta, or when I was in St. Lucia, all of these are sort of travel destinations where a lot of foreigners come. You're in Puerto Vallarta, St. Lucia. I mean, every single person besides me and my best friend were couples that were just gone on their honeymoon or their anniversary. They're are you guys sister? Like, no, we're just friends. The only non-romantically linked pair there. But because I think it's such a tourist attraction where it does attract, a lot of people from the U.S., I think they do take into account safety a little more than just, in some random rural town where it's just like kids hanging out and having fun.
Yeah, sure. I'm positive of that because, if there'd be an accident, you would trust that the word would get out about something like that.
Absolutely, and I don't think any resort or any sort of attraction wants any sort of bad publicity. I mean, that's their bread and butter, attracting tourists to these sorts of things. I mean, those zipline events aren't cheap.
No. So, so anyway, we'll, I'm sure we're going to find out a little bit more of the details on this, but when you get up there, the counties are shaped somewhat oddly, and so you actually, as you get up toward Payson, you're going into Gila County, but just as you get up onto the top of the rim there, you're actually in Coconino County, which is Flagstaff, and so their sheriff's department is investigating. I'm sure we'll get some answers, but just a horrible accident, and like you said, our prayers to the family on that.
I know,
for sure.
Let's see. Just going through my...
Let me just ask, did you see what's happening in the stock market today? Was that what you wanted to talk
about? I did. I was like, that is the next thing I want to talk to Ron about.
What do you want to talk about?
Well, we just talked about the unfortunate ziplining accident.
Right.
Now, an unfortunate turn of events in our stock market.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Earlier today it was down about 350 points. Now it's back up a little bit, still down about 311, 312 points.
Correct. And if it, if it loses 350, it's always interesting to watch that last hour of the day because it usually picks up speed, either coming back up or going down. And right now we are on track for the worst day for the Dow since 2011.
Why? What changed? What's
I know.
Causing
That's
this?
a great question, Samia.
I'm asking you because I thought you knew the answer.
I know, but I have no idea. Now let's go on to our next topic.
So that was just a rhetorical question.
No, I'm kidding. I
do have an
can
answer?
tell you exactly. Okay, so they use all this sort of economist speak that sounds like a bunch of gobbledygook to people, I think, but they have this thing that they measure every month called durable goods. And so this is not if you're going to the grocery store to buy something you're going to eat, and it's not even something you would go buy in a clothing store, which you're going to wear for a couple of years and then donate or whatever. These are durable goods, things like refrigerators and dishwashers and airplanes and automobiles and the big stuff, right? And they came out this morning and said that in December, it was really bad.
For durable goods.
Yeah, and we thought, most people looking at it thought, hey, that's Christmas time, it's Christmas month, there's a lot of spending, the economy's coming back, gas prices are coming down.
But maybe people aren't buying the big stuff around Christmas because they're busy buying presents.
Maybe.
Who wants to buy a refrigerator or a dishwasher? Or a car, unless you're, fairly wealthy and giving someone a car for their Christmas present.
Yeah, but it also measures things like, advance orders, like other businesses. Like if an airline is going to order some airplanes. And that, by the way, that was one of the big things. I should mention that. Aircraft orders fell 55% in the month of December compared to November. So that had a tendency to bring it all down. But I think there's something else going on, and it's concerning. And it is that there's a report out today that IBM is considering one of the biggest layoffs they've ever had. If it's true, it could impact 112,000 of their employees who might be getting laid off.
How many employees do they have?
Well, I think we said it was going to be something like 12 to 15% of their workforce. So, I mean, around the world, I think they probably have close to 1 million people that work for them. They're a gigantic tech company.
Right, absolutely.
But still, that kind of layoff. Remember last time I was up here last week, we were talking about how in the oil business, they're laying off people in Texas and in the Dakotas and all those kinds of things. Some of these big oil companies were announcing layoffs of 2,000. Another one was announcing layoffs of 7,000. And so you expect to see some of that. But a company like IBM, that's a little concerning. So I think people see these headlines, they think to themselves, I'm going to hunker down just a little bit,
Sure.
because, well, it's great news that gas prices are down. Economic news like this is not good. So the bottom line is that these durable goods orders dropped 3.4% in December, and then the government came out and said, oops, we were way off in November too. We had said it was 0.9. Turns out they dropped 2.1%. So it was almost triple what they thought for November. Bad, triple bad. And now this one, even worse for December. And so, it's just raising questions. And then at the same time, some big companies like Microsoft and Procter & Gamble and some others came out with earnings today, and they were disappointments. Then now we'll see what happens. The market closes at 1 o'clock, or 2 o'clock. Right after that, probably the most watched company in the world will report their earnings.
IBM?
Apple.
Oh, Apple.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was a callback to what
I
we
know
talked
that
about
was
earlier. Was that
yeah,
right?
right. But Apple.
Okay.
And so that will have a tendency to, if that's bad news, could really be rough tomorrow on the stock market. But it might be good news. Generally, Apple does have good news, because supposedly I saw a story today that they're catching up with Samsung.
I believe my friend just bought an iPhone 6.
Yes?
Yeah. Well, her iPhone 6 got stolen this weekend.
Oh, no.
And she had to buy one at full price.
Oh, so was
we were
she...
pickpocketed in New Orleans.
You guys were? Did you get hit?
No, I didn't. I mean, we as in my best friend. The same one I went ziplining with.
Okay.
She was just, at a bar, and then she felt something come out of her pocket.
Right.
She had noticed this woman that was around her. And so she was pretty sure that was the one. She came up, she's like, hey, my stuff got stolen. And then she saw this woman, same woman, and so I don't know why I did this. Okay, but
okay, all right.
My two friends go approach her.
Yes.
And before they say anything, because they never interacted with her, the woman comes up, it's like, oh, did you lose something? Why would you ask that?
Very suspicious.
It was really suspicious. So my friends are interacting with this woman.
Right.
And I'm somehow daring in this moment. I decide to walk around her. I'm looking at the back of her, and I notice this, hunchback sort of shape behind her jacket. And I'm like, something's under that jacket, because it's, weirdly protruding.
So you tackled her?
So I just lifted it up, and I see this giant, or not giant, but this backpack, and I'm like, whoa. But then it's really awkward. She turns around what are you doing? Why are you touching me? And it was one of those really aggressive things. And I was like, I had two choices. I could get in her face and argue.
Yeah.
Or I could walk away and not get hurt or shot. And the thing is, it's doing this job, you end up reading stories where it's someone resists and then a gun, you risk your life. And so I was so aware of that I was just like, I thought you were someone else.
Is that what you said? Yeah, and your friend is over there like, yeah, Sammy.
No, they weren't cheering me on because they were there. They're probably thinking, because they were talking to her when I did that. They're probably like, what is she doing?
That was really good detective work on your part.
I guess so. I found that out.
Yeah.
I saw that. But my bad was probably not just going to the front of the bar and getting the security guy to come with me. So in that moment, I was thinking in terms of an investigative journal, let's see what's weird, but I probably should have gotten authorities, because then I did that. Somehow she disappeared.
Yeah.
I called 911. We got police involved. Went to the police station. Did all that stuff. I was what was funny is that in the police station, I started asking them so many questions. They're probably so annoyed with me because they didn't realize I was in this world.
Right.
So I kept asking very specific things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That. I was just very does this this happen all the time? What is the likelihood of something getting recovered? How often do you see this and this?
Wow.
What is? I just asked very typical if I were a reporter covering this story, what questions would I ask police?
Right.
And they were just like,
come on.
Okay.
Come on, lady. Let us do our
jobs. We just need to write a police report from your friend, because I didn't tell them. I was just like, they just think I'm some girl in New Orleans that's very inquisitive, which I was.
Well, I just, maybe this is one that we could have people, give us their feedback on, is how do you handle a situation like that if you've been pickpocketed and you think the person
when you have the person
right
in front of you, and
because
it's we have no, because unless I open that backpack, I have no concrete proof, but it's why would you have a backpack in this, it was a combination of a bar / club, which the only reason I went back to this place and dragged all my friends there is because the last time I was in New Orleans 6 months ago, I met JC from NSYNC there, and he gave me career advice at 4 a.m. and I thought it was so excited because I loved NSYNC. It's the greatest. So I was like, guys, we have to go back to this place.
You were hoping he was still hanging out there.
Last time I was here, I met JC from NSYNC. And clearly we encountered someone else that was not as nice. as Jay Sieberman says.
Samia's encounters with boy bands. This could be like a whole separate YouTube show or something.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of all my encounters.
But
Sure.
I was thinking about it, so I was listening really intently as you were describing that whole thing, and I said to myself, so how would I have handled it when she turns around?
Yeah,
You know?
especially she has this like,
Yeah.
aggressive sort of look on her face.
Right. I think I would have said, okay, you don't want me touching you? You stole something from my friend. You stay right here, and I'm going to go get somebody.
See, but I had no proof.
Well, it's
And the thing
it's
is,
not
that's
like you're in court.
No, but that's fine. But even if it would have been like, what if she pulled out a gun? Because they don't pat you down before going into these things.
Right.
And I really just didn't want to get shot, Ron.
Okay.
Like, I
Yeah.
realized that my friend lost her, wallet that had her iPhone 6.
Yes.
$200 cash.
Right.
So, and the wallet itself being worth $150.
Yeah.
I understand that's a lot of monetary value, but so often we come on the show and talk about, unfortunate situations. We always talk about like, let the money go. It's not a big deal. Your
That's
life
right.
is worth more. And so I was more aware of that in this scenario.
Right.
Thinking worst case scenario. Like, let's compare this to the blizzard on the East Coast. It's
Okay.
better to be safe
Yes.
than not be safe.
Right.
And get stuck in a storm. I didn't want to get stuck in a storm on Bourbon Street,
Yeah.
So that's my take, and I understand, it is what it is. We never recovered it. My friend bought a new phone. Here's the interesting thing: she did the Find My Phone iPhone thing. She logged in on my phone to track her phone,
Okay.
and I think she thought I would get the notifications.
Okay.
But it still goes back to your own email. The thing is, she never checked her email the whole weekend.
Okay.
So when she bought the new iPhone
Right.
and entered all her information, Find My iPhone had notified her 20 times. Tracking her phone in different parts.
That it's
of
the
New
new
Orleans.
iPhone.
No, that her
That
other.
was the stolen one?
I'm saying her stolen phone had been
oh.
tracked 20 times when she turned on her new iPhone and checked her
gosh.
email for the
Was
first
it all
time
over the city?
in 2 days. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
around mostly the French Quarter, but then it was last tracked on Interstate 10 because the 10 goes out there. They're on the
Yes.
10 as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, for goodness sakes.
yeah. So, anyways, the point is, if you lose your phone, do your best to acquire it. Tell police and use because police were like, tell us if you see it on Find My iPhone.
Yeah.
So had we just checked your email anytime.
Right. I know, but
And
you're not
that-
thinking about that, right?
I know.
Yeah.
Anyways, there's that.
Well,
that
I
was
sort
our
of hoped
crazy
that the story was going to end with you tackling her,
I would have come
and
in with some
pulling the cell phone
scrapes
out of her.
and cuts.
Right.
I had to be on camera.
And here's the one I got in New Orleans when I was supporting my friend.
Long story short, my friend is now down $1,500.
Oh, because you had to pay.
Well, she had to buy a new iPhone 6, which is $800 when you buy it at retail value without the upgrade. Anyways, that's that. That was my unfortunate story. Because you were talking about Apple. That's how we got on that.
Yes,
topic.
right. So we'll see.
So Apple.
By the way, Samia.
Yes.
Just as you were talking, the market is no longer down 325
Oh, let's go check it out again.
289.
That's better.
That's a 35-point improvement just in the last couple of minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Maybe it'll continue to climb.
Yeah.
We have a couple more hours to go.
Right. Well, the other thing that was kind of interesting on that, again, I'm digging. I'm thinking, okay, she's going to ask me some questions about this. So here's the other thing I wrote down. There's a story out there today about a guy who follows the oil markets really closely.
Mm-hmm.
And he had predicted back when it was $80 a barrel that there's just too much supply out there. There's so much coming online because mostly here in the U.S. we're doing such a good job at finding it. He said oil's going to 50. And this morning the story came out that said, now that I made that prediction, it's going to go lower.
Wow.
And he said it's probably going to 40 and it might even get into the 30s.
Does that mean gas might be under $1 a gallon? No.
I like how you answer your own questions on this show.
Okay. Well, because I was just going to ask you, are gas prices going up again? Because yesterday, the Circle K right here on 7th Ave and Interstate 10, the one I drive by, to and from work. I always get injured people with this pen.
Flying pins.
Oh, well, it's not important.
No,
I don't
it's
need a pen right now.
Right here.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So
Anyways.
yesterday it was $1.70 for a regular unleaded gasoline.
Pretty good price, huh?
Today it's $1.74. So I was
it
like,
did go
no, gas prices are going up. So I was wondering, I'm like, does that mean that we've hit our low point at $1.70? And
I have the answer to that. No.
Okay.
Because, and I don't know why they do this, but I think a lot of them get their shipments in on Tuesday, And I don't know really a lot about the scheduling, but I've seen this in the past. It'll go up, and then probably tomorrow it'll be right back down. It'll go up 4 cents. Maybe they're running a little bit short right now, until the next truck comes in. I don't really know, but you see it a lot. I don't trust these oil companies. I figure, they're testing us to see if we'll, go buy it a little bit higher. All prices stop going down. There's no way prices.
We're going to keep driving.
Correct.
We're going to keep buying.
Yeah. There's no way prices have hit their bottom. There's just no way.
Okay, well then we'll discuss this tomorrow and the next day and every day. I'm just going to drive by that state. That's going to be my reference point.
Is what?
That Circle K.
Okay.
On 7th Ave. And,
that's a good one to look at.
Well, because it's one I see every day.
Right.
So I pass it to and from work. And so I feel like that's a good reference point.
Okay, let's just look right now and just see if there
you're
is
checking
anybody
on
that's
Gas
gonna.
Buddy.
Yeah.
No, I know it's cheaper than in other places.
Right. Well, that's pretty impressive, actually. There's a bunch of 163s.
Yeah, Costco.
Yeah. You know what's funny is Kristen. Have I got you in the habit of getting up right at 4:30 when Kristen and I first go on the air? I want to get you in that habit.
No.
Okay. A lot of people do.
I was sleeping off my sickness.
Oh,
I went to bed at 7:30 p.m. last night.
That's good. Did you take NyQuil?
Because anyone who watched yesterday, I was like this. I was like, okay, let's just.
Yeah.
I had it was bad.
Yeah.
Even with coffee, I was just like.
See.
I just didn't have I was like,
and I know when you get to that point where I can almost see it in your eyes where you're like, I gotta go to Starbucks. Right? Seriously.
But usually on this show, I don't get to this. I'm usually, at least I still have.
Yes,
even if I'm tired, I still have the energy. Yesterday, I was
Correct.
like, I just have to tell you guys what's going on.
Yeah. Oh.
Have some honey, so.
When we were at the Rock and Roll Expo last weekend, I noticed that we had a lot of people who come up, we watch you guys starting right at 4:30. Right at 4:30. And so the point I was going to make is, so Kristen and we go on the air at 4:30 every morning. A couple days ago, she's saying to me, my sister's in town, and she can't believe how low the gas prices are. And she's from Texas, which we always figured Texas has that's where all the oil is.
I think some of the cheapest in the country is here.
I know.
I think so, right?
I mean, if you have people from Houston, which is where her sister lives.
No, you know what you can do?
If you have people from Houston who are thinking it's low here, then you're doing really good. See, they're doing some 160s. Yeah.
It's pretty much the same in Houston as in Phoenix.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
But in California,
Yeah.
California, it's the $2 still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was up in the Northwest this weekend, and the lady at the rental car counter says, so do you want to do, now let me ask you about this. She said, do you want to do the fuel option and prepay your fuel? Do you ever do that?
No, because they always charge you so much for prepaid fuel.
Correct. So I didn't do it, and look how freezing I am on the ferry boat up there in Seattle. Oh, man, I'm freezing. Do you see that? Here. Look, you can practically see the goosebumps on
I want to share with our viewers so they don't feel left out.
Okay.
That's Ron in Seattle.
Yeah. Freezing. So why am I only wearing a t-shirt? Because I like being cold. But so I said, no, I don't like that option. I'm not going to do the fuel option. And we had quite a few family members up there. And my wife's sister, Ann, says, I'll get the fuel option. So who do you think came out ahead? I was curious to see how it was all going to work.
The person who didn't get the fuel option?
Yours truly.
Right, logically. Right. Who gets the fuel option?
Well, because here's what happens. If you get the fuel option, you're like, I'm going to ride this thing on fumes right to the airport. Because you don't want to turn it in with still half a tank, right? You paid for a full tank.
Right.
So she's driving to the airport, and she's like, I think I'm timing this just about right. She's watching it go closer to E, And then the next thing you know, she's in downtown Seattle, which there's no gas stations downtown. Right? I mean, you gotta go out to the suburbs. And there's a sign that starts flashing in the car that says, "Get fuel now! Get fuel now!"
It actually says that.
So she pulls off in this area she's not familiar with, and she can't find any gas stations. And she's driving around. I'm like, "Hello, gas buddy." She had never heard of it.
Oh. She
ends up paying a homeless guy $10 to tell her where the closest gas station is.
Why didn't she use Gas Buddy?
She didn't know about it.
But what if the guy lied?
Well, fortunately, he was honest for his $10 piece of information.
So what was it like? Oh, where's the nearest gas station? He was like,
Yeah.
pay me?
Correct. Can you believe that?
Yeah, everyone
so
has
anyway,
a hustle.
she hands him a 10. She says, or he says, so it's 3 blocks over that way or whatever. She goes and gasses up. It's a tiny little like compact car, and so she's just guessing how much to fill it up. And she's like, I'll put like $10 in or so because it was such a tiny car.
It filled up.
It filled up like over half the tank. So she's out $10 to the homeless guy, and she's out another $10 for the gas up. And so, $20. This is just my story on why you shouldn't get the fuel option.
That was up in Seattle.
That was up in Seattle.
Your sister?
That was Renee's sister.
Renee's
my wife's sister.
Who's also a Seahawks fan.
Yeah, and she's probably watching in Albuquerque this morning thinking, I can't believe it's telling everybody that story.
Well, I actually wanted to share this other story because I know that you have family members who are Seahawks fans.
Yeah.
Yesterday, our very own Ty Brennan went to the home of a diehard Seahawks fan right here in the Valley.
Oh, this will be good.
And he painted his home in Seahawks colors.
Okay.
And Ty has a full sort of tour of this home.
Oh, really?
Speaks with the owner,
Okay,
the
let's
diehard
watch it.
fan. So I really
This is gonna be
wanted
good.
to share that with you
Okay.
and our viewers because I thought it was cool.
All right.
In this Chandler neighborhood, there is no doubt who this homeowner is going for in Super Bowl 49. Can you guess? Seahawks. And this is the homeowner right over here. This is Ashton Fitzwater. Tell me, why did you deck out your house and everything Seahawks here?
Well, last year I did the logo in the yard. We got a lot of response from that. So this year, bigger game, got to go big.
What do your neighbors think about all of this?
They actually, believe it or not, they love it. I got a Cardinals fan behind me over here, Broncos fan on the other side of me over here, and they actually love it. They think it's great.
Now, does your house look like this year-round, or is this something special you do this time of year?
I would like to say this is what it looks like year-round, but no, this was special for the Super Bowl. Got to show support for my Hawks. Let them know the 12th man is down here with them. Going to be a home game.
There you go. And Ashton, how long did this actually take you to do?
Believe it or not, just a couple hours on Saturday, probably about 4 or 5, and then on Sunday, I put about 3 hours into getting the Hawk in the yard, getting the 12 up on the roof, and getting some players' numbers on the garage.
Now, have you gotten any Patriots reaction to this?
No, not yet. They're staying pretty quiet. One of my friends at work is a diehard Patriots fan, so he's throwing some little jabs here and there, trying to get it in there, but not too much.
Well, Ashton, we appreciate you showing off your house here. Now, Ashton says he's going to keep this here in his front yard just as long as his girlfriend will allow him to do. In Chandler, Ty Brennan, Fox 10 News.
That's
Nice
amazing.
story, Ty.
I just think that's like a commitment. You're changing the colors of your home.
Yes, I know.
It's like, hopefully the Seahawks win, so then
Well, as we said,
I love it though. I mean, it's really cool.
As we said on the morning show this morning, I said, so this guy says, I'll keep it as long as my girlfriend says it's okay. So he's in good with her. But I said, what happens later today when the guy with the HOA shows up with his clipboard?
Is that a condominium?
No, it's just a neighborhood. I don't know.
Do they have HOA fees?
They probably don't have an HOA.
Say. So he has full control as long as he owns the house and he's not renting. If he's renting, then he has a problem.
Right.
Yeah, but no, it was cool. I was like,
the owner might be watching.
That's a major commitment.
So here's the other thing that is really interesting about the Super Bowl.
What's that?
A lot of the what they call prop bets have come out now, and this is for the goofy stuff about like how long is the Super Bowl going to be, which team is going to win the coin flip. You can bet on all these things now.
I'm sure you could bet. I mean, I'm sure you can bet on everything because the Super Bowl is charging for every event.
Right.
They're making money off of, and I guess spectators need to make money off things too, right?
Yeah. So, for example, since Idina Menzel is, from Frozen,
right,
is going to be singing the national anthem, and then, did you know, because it doesn't get near as much pub, but John Legend is going to sing America the Beautiful.
I heard.
That, I'm almost looking forward to that more. I mean, I think she's going to be incredible, but John Legend with America the Beautiful, that's going to just be...
I'm just a big fan of John Legend's wife, Chrissy Teigen.
Oh.
Supermodel and Twitter extraordinaire.
Oh, is that
She's
so?
really entertaining.
Yeah.
I remember once being out at the Hollywood Improv comedy show, and I look in the crowd, and John Legend's there.
Yeah.
But so is Chrissy Teigen. Who am I more excited about? Chrissy Teigen. Who do I decide to like chat it up with in the bathroom? Chrissy Teigen.
Oh, see.
Solely for her tweets. She is
Okay.
hilarious. She is a riot. She's very feisty.
I'm gonna go find her right now.
Yeah, she might be saying inappropriate things though, so I don't necessarily know if
Oh,
we're
is
going to
that
show it
right?
on air or not.
Okay. Well, I'm just not following her. So Christy.
No, Chrissy.
Oh, Chrissy.
Yeah.
2 S's. Right.
Yeah.
Chrissy.
Oh, there. Go back.
Oh, there it is. Chrissy Teigen, right?
They had it. No,
Isn't
go
that
back.
her?
No, but
That's her right there.
Hold on. They had her right there.
Oh.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
so I've been following her for
600,000.
like 3 or 4 years on Twitter from
Oh,
back
my
when she only
goodness.
had like 50,000 followers. Now she has like 600,000. Really entertaining. She's feisty. She's
beautiful,
divisive.
too.
Yeah, she's a model.
Yep.
Sports
You were
Illustrated
saying.
swimsuit cover girl kind of model.
Okay.
She's also really into cooking. But anyways, I'm sure she'll be there supporting him.
Love
I'll
it.
be looking for her.
Okay. So, yeah, that's just another. Think about all the celebrities that are going to be in town. Supposedly, Rihanna's playing it at like a private party.
Yeah, so you know how they're doing the Fan Fest every day
Right.
out in Glendale. So
Right.
one of the nights is still at Fan Fest, but it's a private, exclusive, invite-only Fan Fest show that Rihanna is performing
I
on.
wonder why they did it that way. Because you would think a ton of people. Maybe they were worried about the crowds, that it would just get to be too many people.
Well,
Rihanna,
I mean, I
right?
think in and of itself, the Super Bowl is exclusive enough.
Yeah.
And all the other artists, they're known, they're mainstream, but of all the other artists performing at Fan Fest, they're not at Rihanna level, I guess.
Yeah.
Is what you would say in terms of popularity.
Oh, get this. Yeah. So the odds are running 4-1 that Idina Menzel will forget at least one word of the national anthem.
I feel like people would practice a lot
I would
before
think so,
doing
too.
the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Let's see if there's anything else here that you think would be interesting. Last year, the total number of viewers was 112 million, and so this year, the over/under is 113 million, so that would be another million. Do you think that all this talk that it's getting in the national media, besides sports media, besides like Fox Sports or ESPN, the fact that it's every day on Fox News Channel and we're
The Super
talking
Bowl?
about it, Deflategate?
Oh, Deflategate, yeah.
That will prompt more people to watch or not watch?
I think people are going to still watch. I mean, the Super Bowl always has high ratings regardless. I don't
Right.
think it needs a scandal to increase ratings. I think people are watching because of, I mean, there's two big teams. So if you're a sports fan, you're watching because of that. If you're not a sports fan, you're watching because of the commercials. I mean, that's why people have been watching for years, the commercials, if they're not into sports.
Yeah.
Or if you're not into the commercials or the actual game, you're probably attending a Super Bowl party and enjoying the snacks.
Yes.
And it's on in the background.
Okay.
I mean, I've definitely been that person there.
Yeah. See, I
It's
went
like, I don't care about the teams that are in right now, so I'm just going to eat this chip and this dip.
I went to one Super Bowl party in my neighborhood a few years ago, and there was just so much socializing.
You got annoyed.
When an actual football game's going on, I'm like,
Can I be invited to that party?
there was a lot of good
I
food.
need to be invited to the socializing Super Bowl party. All my parties are in LA, and I refuse to go back to LA for another for weeks and a month because I'm tired of travel. I want to stay in Phoenix for at least 2 months straight without travel and just enjoy it, enjoy my weekends. I want to explore this city. I need to go to the Grand Canyon. I have so much to do, and I haven't done it because every day after work I'm just tired, and so I'm just like I don't want to do anything.
Okay.
And so I haven't really gotten to explore, and I really need to explore.
You will fall in love with this state.
I like Old Town Scottsdale.
Sure. Everything's great in the metro.
Downtown. I drove to Chandler once to buy a table off Craigslist, and I was like, Chandler's amazing. Same way about Gilbert. I was like, this is such a cute little, like, quaint, this is where you raise your kids and send them to the local school district.
Well, downtown Gilbert, this is
I
interesting.
haven't gone, I just went to someone's house.
I heard from a guy on Twitter the other day who said they're trying to get a group of guys together in Mesa to get restaurants into downtown Mesa like downtown Gilbert has. Because it all started with Joe's Real Barbecue, which is a fantastic barbecue place.
I need to eat.
And then across the street, They opened up a place called the Liberty Market, which is very popular. And now Oregano's is in there, and Postino, and a lot of really great restaurants right in just little downtown Gilbert.
I haven't had breakfast yet, Ron. You're making me very hungry. Like, oh my God, what should I eat for lunch today?
Okay, all right.
So,
I was just going to say, here's one other bet. Can you believe this? You can actually wager on what will be the color of the Gatorade that's going to be dumped on the coach.
That's amazing.
At the end of the Super Bowl.
Red? That's
See?
my favorite.
And I would go the traditional, like, yellow.
Yellow. It'll probably be yellow. I just prefer drinking red.
So.
Side note, you were telling that story about your sister-in-law.
Right.
She almost ran out of gas.
Uh-huh.
You know someone who did run out of a fuel? A pilot.
Oh, that's a good segue.
I was like, hey, I know, I thought of it all myself. I want to share this video. Pilot of a single engine.
Oh, people need to watch this because look right there. There's the moment where the propeller quits working. And then he starts going backwards.
It's so crazy though. This video is insane.
Yeah, but watch right here. Watch. When it goes down into the water, you're like, oh, he's gonna go under. But just because of the lightweight nature of the plane,
absolutely,
and the wings sticking out,
he survives.
Doesn't go down. That's the thing he's got to be thinking is, I hope when I hit the water, I just splash on top.
Amazing.
And then look at that. He's just sitting there waiting for...
So where is this video from?
This is out in the Pacific Ocean.
No, but how did someone capture this video?
It's got to be Coast Guard video.
Okay.
So, I don't know that for sure, but we were looking at it.
Yeah, it is from the U.S. Coast Guard.
Okay, good. So, you hear about... People say this all the time, like, I wonder why more planes don't come equipped. Because 99.9% of the crashes in the world, plane crashes, are the small planes, are the small private planes. They're not the gigantic jetliners that make huge stories, right?
Right.
And so in a case like this, look, you can see I wonder if eventually it did go down to the
right, but
depths
at least you had the time to save yourself, like this pilot that we're looking at here. This incident happened just a couple of days ago on Sunday.
Right.
About 250 miles northeast of Maui.
Which I'm thinking to myself, if you're flying over from California to Maui, A, good for you, but B, how do you not get it right on the fuel?
Right. No, you're right.
But anyway, this video alone, Samia, is going to do more to sell parachutes out of airplanes than anything you've ever seen before. I think it'll become way more of a standard option, and it'll probably save some people's lives.
Yeah, I mean, that saved this guy's life.
Yeah. It's just that moment when you see the propeller coming to us right here. Watch. And then the propeller stops. And then the plane's getting drugged backwards by the parachute, so the propeller's going backwards. That's a pretty frightening moment.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
But I'm glad he's safe.
Yeah.
It's great video.
It really is. This is the kind of guy that we love to have on our show. So I can bet you right now, as I look over at that part of the newsroom, I can bet you we're already figuring out how do we get a hold of this guy. Can we track down his phone number, that kind of thing?
Well, I'm assuming if it originated in Tracy, California, that he's probably from Central California.
Yeah. That's sort of your neck of the woods,
It is.
right?
Tracy is probably like maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours from Fresno.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's just south of Sacramento, that whole area.
Right. Yeah.
So
I bet he had that one moment where he pushes.
Maybe one of those affiliates can score the interview and send it back. Oh no, it'd be better if he came here in person so you could talk to him.
Yeah. But most
Maybe
of the time...
Maybe he'll be here for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, really.
I don't know.
Most of the time we end up getting him on the phone, but he's going to have a story to tell.
Right.
Just the whole thing about, well, how much does that option cost?
Right.
Because I'm sure you can buy a plane with it or without it.
And people are like, I don't need it. No, you need it.
I know.
Better, what's the lesson of this whole webcast today? Better be safe than sorry, right?
I know.
Whether it's the blizzard or someone's cell phone getting stolen.
Correct. And Mama Samia, maybe that could be like another nickname for you. Mama Samia, kind of worried about kids out there playing flag football. I feel like my child will call me
Mama Sama.
Mama Sama.
It rhymes. I don't know. This fictional child that we speak of that is not around. We actually have the website, the official website of the maker of this
is that
plane.
right?
Yeah, I'm going to pull that up for our viewers now. I wonder if they...
That's pretty cool. Oh, news and events.
So they're definitely talking about this right here, news and events.
So it says the Cirrus airframe parachute system successfully deployed over Pacific Ocean.
A Cirrus SR-22 aircraft from the United States to Hawaii successfully deployed the Cirrus airframe parachute system, CAPS, over the ocean.
Oh, and then it says the whole aircraft frame parachute system is standard equipment on every Cirrus.
Yeah, this is actually great for the company.
Yeah.
What was an SR-22?
Maybe it'll put the pressure.
SR-22.
Yeah, put the pressure on some of these other manufacturers to do the same thing. I mean, I really think that'll save some people's lives.
Cabin payload with 3-hour trip fuel and 45-minute reserve. First of all, it takes longer than 3 hours.
Yes, it does.
To get to Hawaii, right?
Right.
Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, let's see.
It takes 3 hours, I think, from California to about Houston or Louisiana even.
Yeah. Well, I can just tell you, the 2 times that I've flown to Hawaii from Phoenix, it's about 6 hours.
But that's including time zone change, right?
No, I mean actual flight time is 6 hours. Yeah. So, I don't get that. How did this guy think he was going to... Doesn't make a lot of sense.
I don't know. Well, that's why he landed in the ocean.
Wow, that still is amazing video. Well, see, so maybe you don't need to let that motherly instinct come in and worry you so much. Because, airplanes are getting safer.
Yeah, but it's always better to be more safe than sorry. I don't know. I'm just like,
Yeah, we started with a quote from Bill de Blasio.
I thought I was going to die this weekend.
Why?
So on the flight from New Orleans to Las Vegas.
I love flight stories. Let's hear what happened.
I'm just going to... I connected in Vegas to come back here, Southwest. You got to connect.
Yeah.
I experienced turbulence like I've never experienced in my life, to the point where I've flown a decent amount in my life, and I had my cup of water splashing on me, falling on me, shaking.
Did you scream?
No, me and my friend, she was next, and we were just literally thinking I was just very quiet and pensive and in thought, and all of the staff was, sitting in their seats locked up. And then I was in the very front row of the plane, and you could see this board. You could see a shape, an electronic board. And you can see the shape of a plane, and it was all lit up red. So it was just, I didn't even know what it represented, but I was terrified. And I was just literally the thoughts that went through my head were Malaysia planes. This is what they all thought before they died. What are they thinking? Oh my God, it was so terrifying. Yeah. And then what freaked me out is they were talking about changes in altitude to avoid this storm, and I was like, oh my God, that's what happened with AirAsia. They changed to avoid a storm. So I'm not outwardly freaking myself out or anything, but I was literally I had accepted my fate, and I was so...
Did you really? Did your life flash before your eyes or any of those?
No life.
Oh, I have some unfinished business.
None of that. I was just, I felt I was really sad.
Oh, no. You're not going to cry.
I would have cried. No, I have to not cry. I can't ruin my makeup. But I got really sad. Because I started taking it to another level, and I was thinking, I thought about my Instagrams.
Yeah.
And... the 2 Instagrams I posted right before I got on that flight, one said last meal, # #meal. I meant last meal in New Orleans, but I just said # last meal, and it was a pile of miniature beignets from this beignet company.
What's a beignet?
Beignet, the little it's southern.
Is it?
It's like a donut, but it's deep fried.
Oh,
it's spelled Beignets.
Ooh.
That's what New Orleans is known for this place, Cafe Du Monde, but they have other competing beignet companies. And last time I was in New Orleans, I bookmarked this place, the original beignet coffee. I don't even remember the name. It's probably on my Instagram, but I bookmarked it because they had made chocolate beignets, not just regular, plain beignets. So I went there right before my flight because it was on the way to the airport. # last meal.
Oh.
Then on top of that, the next photo I posted right before the plane took off was a photo of an entirely empty plane and just rows of seats.
Okay.
Explaining the story how I was able to board third on the flight when I got C-55 as most of my boarding position.
Well, where was everybody?
They were all behind me. I managed to convince them to give me pre-boarding because my friend was pregnant.
Smart. Good thinking.
So it was amazing because suddenly now she needs a friend with her to help her get to the bathroom. And so I was explaining this grand feat that I had accomplished, and I had to show this picture of this empty plane. So naturally, you're thinking, okay, I die. People go to Instagram, they go to your, they look you up, and they see this picture. Oh, this was the inside of the plane before it went down. Oh, this was her last meal. I'm like, seriously, the things that I posted on Instagram, I would have totally thought, like, these are last post worthy, and it was absolutely terrible, and that freaked me out. And I was sad because, like, my mom also texted me something, like, really sweet, like, may God bring you back safely on your flight. All these things that were just, like...
How often do you get one of those? Never.
Not that detailed.
Right. Did you notice how I asked my own question and answered it?
Yeah.
Kind of the Samia Khan approach. Ask questions.
But I was so terrified. I thought about my mom's text. I was like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
It was really, really emotionally just like... And you know what fascinated me also was that so many other people on the plane were just continuing their conversation, chatting as if it was no big deal. And I'm sitting here like super quietly like, oh gosh, this is it. You guys are going to cover this on news now, and I won't be there. It'll be like Jeff.
I know. You're like, well, who's going to be covering for me on Monday since I'll be...
No, that's so sad. Don't say that. Anyway,
it's such a morbid... With the sadness thing, you came out of a couple of bumps. There was a couple of bumps.
I'm alive, and all is well, but you had to understand that all the thoughts that went from like, okay, they're going to pull up my final Instagrams and my mom's final text, and she's going to be like, this is the last thing I texted her, and it's going to be so sad, and I was like really sad. Anyways, Ron, this is all a hypothetical scenario. I'm very grateful to be alive.
The interesting part of that whole story to me, one of many various aspects, is that you used your pregnant friend to get a great seat on the plane.
Well, that's what we were saying. Me and her were like, this is karma for taking advantage of the system. We're just going to die now.
Right. Along with everybody else who didn't take advantage of the system. Okay, so here's the funny thing. So I'm driving Renee's mom around quite a bit. I told you we had some... quite a bit of family up this weekend, and so we pull into this restaurant. There's her mom, and there's Renee's mom, and she's just one of the sweetest ladies I will ever know. Betty, she's so awesome. Anyway, she said, because she doesn't get around very well, she said, I have handicap parking. If you want to park in handicap.
So you had to.
I said, nah, there's a space right next to it. We'll be fine. But we walked into this restaurant, and she was really needing something to kind of boost her spirits.
Sure.
So I saw the craziest lemon meringue pie I have ever seen in my life. That's a lemon meringue pie.
That is not a pie.
Yeah.
Show them.
I'm like, I haven't posted it online yet. But I said to myself, that's a lemon meringue pie? I got to get a picture of that. Look at that thing. It's like a volcano.
That's so cool. Was it delicious?
It's a volcano of sugar.
You keep doing this. You know I haven't eaten breakfast.
That's right. How do I keep bringing it back to food?
That's so not nice.
Yeah.
You want to see what beignets look like?
Yes.
My final meal. The tragedy that was.
Yeah.
Here it is. My Instagram.
Ooh.
I mean, it does have a filter on it, in my defense.
Still.
But they're just powdered wonders.
So it's obviously a French...
yeah, they're deep fried.
Okay.
It's basically just deep fried dough with powdered sugar.
Okay.
The first time I ever had them were in Houston. They were delicious.
Yeah.
They're really good. They have them at Disneyland, at Downtown Disney.
These very same things.
Yeah.
Oh, at the Jazz Kitchen. What's the guy's name?
Yeah.
The Ralph Cramden Jazz Kitchen.
There's some New Orleans, Southern Korea. There's a little, and then right next to the actual restaurant, there's a little just standalone store that sells beignets and coffee.
Okay.
So that was my final meal, assuming that the plane had an unfortunate incident.
Hey, speaking of which, we had the Fox Medical team on this morning. I don't know if you got that report, but they were talking about this Disneyland measles outbreak,
Oh, right.
And they said that it is, we're dealing with a situation where a couple of different scenarios where you have new immigrants coming into the country that don't have their shots, number one, And then you have a whole group of parents who now are buying into the philosophy of, I'm not going to get my kids any vaccinations because they're worried that it causes certain sicknesses. You know, a lot of doctors are like, please still get them, but some parents are skeptical about it. So we are definitely seeing a rise in the number of people who don't have their vaccinations, if they're coming from other parts of the world where it's not so common, number one.
Right.
Or number two, if they are reading these stories online and
Not vaccinating
they worry about it. So anyway, you hope we're toward the end of that, don't you? I mean, I don't like any stories that are bad about Disneyland because we love Disneyland. You know?
It's a fun place to be.
Yeah. You never grew up in the e-ticket era, but back in the day, when you first went into the park, I can remember as a kid when my mom and dad took me for the first time, and I was about 10, 11 years old. And you could get in for like $9.
It's like 10, 11, 12 times the price now.
Right. And you got coupons. And so you had a couple of the e-ticket rides, you know, which were the really good ones, like the Matterhorn or eventually Space Mountain. And then you had the D's and the C's and the other ones you didn't hardly want to go on. So that's the way they used to do it at Disneyland.
So
you
you
got a little
tickets.
coupon book, and then you spent your tickets, and then that was time to go home.
So you didn't have to like wait in line for 2 hours.
You did not have to wait in line for 2 hours.
Because that's how it is now.
Yeah, that's for sure. So, what else was on your agenda today?
Well, chat with Ron.
Yep.
Media Day. We did that.
Yep.
Seahawks. That was it.
Okay.
That's been our afternoon.
Can we check one more time on the stock market? See what's happening?
We can.
Okay. See if it
Actually,
got better or
no.
worse.
Just kidding.
Oh, they have a picture of New York City up there now, right? Is that what that is?
Yeah, let's take a look at it. Oops. Live look at New York City.
See, I'm looking for snow and I don't see. Of course, it's not showing you the ground, but it doesn't look like it's really even actively. Oh, I saw a flight go by. Did you see that?
Remember that.
Yeah, but I'll just check for you right here and let you know what's going on. It's, man, I'll tell you. If this turns out to be, ooh, am I reading that right? Down 230 now? Yeah, it's coming back. Okay, go ahead. Gonna show everybody? Down 200. It's this one all the way there at the top, right? Down 236. That's good.
You mean it's catching up?
Sort
It's
of.
not good, but it's better than it was before, is what you're saying.
Okay, you caught me. It's
Right.
not good, but it's better than it was. By almost half. I mean, it was down at one point close to 400. Like
Earlier today.
Yeah, like 360, 380, something like that.
So if it makes its way back up, then it might not close
Yeah.
at a terrible...
Just remember, the next time we visit, we will be talking about what Apple had to say. Because they, you know, what's kind of saving Apple, not saving, I mean, they're an incredible company. Their sales in China are going through the roof.
Why China specifically?
Well, because they're finally rolling out in China.
Okay,
I mean, they
got
were
it.
already so big in the U.S., they had to look for new markets, and I'm sure there's all kinds of red tape you have to go through. But you know, in China, I read this yesterday, they have more than 100 cities that have 1 million people or more.
I believe that. I mean, there's 1 billion people in the country of China.
Yeah.
They have like 1/6 of the world population just in their country.
So you think about how they're now selling, I think our stock guy, Wayne Stutzer, had said that today. They're selling, I think he said they're selling more phones now in China than they are in the U.S.
But that, again, makes sense. There's 1 billion people.
Correct.
Over 1 billion. There's like 3 to 4 times as many people in China that there are in the U.S.
Yeah.
And plus, we've all bought our phones already. We have them.
I know.
We're not buying every single one.
Right.
Although I need a 6 now.
I know. I saw somebody this weekend who had a 6. I'm like, yeah, I need to
It's
get
time.
that. Yeah.
Their
the other one's too small.
camera's great.
Yeah.
And 6
Is it? Oh, the camera's really
The
good.
camera's better in the 6, yeah.
It's already really good in the 5S.
I was at the Apple store with my friend, you know, replacing her old phone, and I was talking to them, you know, what's the difference between a 6 and a 6 Plus?
Yeah.
She was like, honestly, the only difference is screen size in terms of having a larger screen, and then the 6 Plus, because it's a larger phone, has a longer battery life. That's it. Other than that,
longer battery life.
So yeah, you have a longer battery life and you have
Okay.
a larger screen.
Do they have more space? Or
No,
are they
you-
still 16 gig and 32?
No, they also have ones that are 64 and 128, but they've had that.
All right.
So it just depends on which ones you buy. I don't actually think there's a 32. I think it goes 16 to 64.
Okay. Well,
but
that's
this
what
is
I'm
all off
getting
the top
next
of my
time.
head. Yeah, because 16 is too little. I've learned that.
By the way,
Because my
maybe...
photos get full, my video gets full.
Okay, here's maybe my best consumer tip, and this comes from my son Jordan. His wife Kelsey used to work at the Apple store. You know what they told me the other day?
that?
Because I was constantly complaining how I had no space. Update to the latest iOS, which I think is
You need space to update to the latest iOS.
Yeah,
I couldn't.
Correct. You have to take. You're going to be so glad I'm telling you this right now, and at home I think you're going to be glad about this too. I had to take like 6 apps off of my phone in order to get enough space to add the new iOS, which I want to say is 8.0.2.
And then what?
It clears more space onto your phone.
So then I can re-download the apps.
Then you not only can you re-download the apps, you'll have more space for pictures and stuff. I don't know how they do it, but it works.
Okay, so I should probably do that right now. So I'm going to do that. So we'll wrap up the show so I can get more space on my phone and get.
Yeah, I gotta love a show.
I really appreciate that.
I'd like to try that on the morning show sometime. With
Just
like
watching
Rick and
people
Andrea.
watch it happen live.
No, just say, you know what? Let's wrap up 15 minutes early here. I gotta go do something on my phone.
I don't ever have an end
Samia.
time. I could go till noon. I could go till 1. I
Right.
could end at 11. It really depends on how much news there is
Yeah.
and how much conversation there is. I feel like we've covered a lot. I know that we're going to be talking more about Media Day later this afternoon.
I can't wait. I'm gonna go home and watch you because Jude's down there and Richard's down there.
Yeah.
And Gail's down there, I think.
Mhm.
Troy is also down there. Did you know
Everyone,
that?
I didn't know Troy is down there, but
Yeah.
it's obviously a big day off in NFL Media Day
Mhm.
land. So
The thing that's
Gonna
going to
get
be
some
interesting
updates.
is there'll be another headline. We can't really predict it, but everybody's expecting Tom Brady, and he's not going to say very much. He's just going to be like, I'm sorry, I've answered that question 20 times. We're focused on the game. We're focused on Seattle.
is every player required to attend Media Day?
Yes, and if you don't, you get a huge fine. And Marshawn Lynch, Seattle Seahawks, has been fined several times for not talking to the media. And so they make him go to these things, or they make him talk to the media in the locker room afterwards, and he'll give you like one-word answers. So they'll
Why?
ask some question like, I mean, did you feel like this was maybe one of the best games you ever played, considering, you know, where the offensive line blocked for you, and what about the way the quarterback, you know, really stepped his game up? And he'll be like, yeah.
Okay.
So you'll get that from Marshawn Lynch, and you'll get no answer from Tom Brady. That's my prediction. They
All right.
will poke and prod and try anything to get some more out of him, and they're not gonna. So there'll actually be some other interesting headline that all these guys are gonna come back with for you this afternoon.
I guess we will wait and see, and I will discuss it with you tomorrow morning.
Okie doke.
All right. Well, I'm gonna let you go. You have to get ready for the noon, correct?
Yes, I think so.
You have a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Before that starts,
Well-
I'm going to wrap things up here.
Okay.
Get some coffee, get some food, clear space
Yeah.
on my iPhone, and then prepare for our next webcast here on Fox 10 News Now. Thanks so much for watching, as always. And make sure you tune in for all of our Fox 10 News Now updates. If you haven't done it already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Fox10Phoenix. That way you get more of Ron, more of me, and obviously, most importantly, more news updates. I'll see you guys next time.